Hello and welcome to the next Fat Loss in 15 episode. So, as you can see, for you guys watching on YouTube, or not for you guys watching on Spotify, we're joined by the lovely Freya as well, snuggling in and snorting away. So, if you hear any little piglet noises coming through, that will be Freya. She's extra clingy today because she was out with the dog walker. So, episode 2 that I've just recorded in a row here. And as I promised, this week, we're going to speak about my holiday, the lessons that I've learned from stepping away, and why downtime often fuels better results than doing more. Okay, so as usual format, personal, professional, fat loss, and as I just said, the personal one we're talking about today is our holiday to Portugal. So I think I know I've spoken about this before. In the last 10 years of coaching, I have been incredibly bad at taking holidays just to relax, to recuperate and recover. Any holiday I seem to be going on was either for a wedding, which is never relaxing, fun but not relaxing, a stag do, which more often than not is great fun but torture, or it's been for some sort of event, a golf event, or just a big family get together. And again, more often than that, there's no real time to, there's no, especially in a job where I'm so people facing, you're constantly talking to people, you're constantly on the go, you're constantly back and forth with people. What you're looking for is just a wee bit of peace and quiet. And over the last 10 years, I've never really done that. I think there's been 2 holidays, well, 3 now actually. One last year in Turkey, one last year in Spain, and then 1 week again this year in Portugal. And it was actually my first time in Portugal, and I did really enjoy it. It was lovely. It was absolutely dirt cheap, and we were staying on an old vineyard. Well, it was actually an old cattle farm that had been renovated into a vineyard because cattle is not very profitable, and they produced over 1 million bottles of Vino Verde every single year, and the holiday was just amazing. Plenty of great sun, great company, great food, and lots of free wine because you're on a vineyard. And the swimming pool and the location, the apartments were just lovely. And all we did was just lie at the pool all day, enjoy the sun. Weather was between about 25 and 34 degrees with a light breeze. And I just listened to my book the full time and just tried to completely recuperate. Very minimal work. I did answer some emails in the middle of the week because it was in the back of my mind that I'd got some emails, but I needed to get back to them. And it was so nice to come back to work. And since I've been back at work, I've literally worked every single shift there has been to work. And I'm really enjoying it again because what I've found is when you're trying to do too much, when you try and do more, the goal behind that is you're trying to accelerate your results. And I see people doing this with fat loss all the time. They think, oh, I'm losing £1 a week. If I add 50% on more, I'll now start doing £2 a week. And that's just not how it works. Yes, you might accelerate it a little bit, but you end up burning yourself out and you start to resent it. Like I know before we changed to this new business model, because we were just chasing more volume, more quantity, I was really starting to burn out and I actually started to resent the gym. I actually wrote an email about this the other day and sent it out. And I had been working towards owning this gym for like 5, 6 years. And then when you got into it, and then you started working towards it and building it up and building it up and building it up. And I did so much and never gave myself time to rest and recuperate that I actually started to resent it and thought about just walking away altogether. So you need your downtime. If you're maybe stuck in a bit of a plateau or you're thinking that you need to do more and you feel like your results are not where you want them to be, you need to first off manage your expectation and actually look at your results and see if they are moving in the right direction. And two, understand that you need the rest and recovery. You can only progress from what you can recover from. Okay, so make sure you're getting your rest in there. Okay, and then that leads me on to point number 2, which is the professional side of it. And I didn't realise I hadn't even looked what the professional side was, and that was actually talking about why we changed the business model or why the gym model is broken. And I feel like Freya's about to run outside. Uh, yes, she has 2 seconds. I'll just let her out. So I'm going to keep talking. So the gym model is broken because the regular way the fitness industry has worked for the last 10 to 15 years is when you go to a gym and you join, all you're really paying for is access. You pay, You maybe get an induction, you get access, you get a keypad, you get a key fob, you get an induction, you get shown around the gym, and then you're just left to your own devices. And for the vast majority of people, that just doesn't work. You don't know what you're doing. Even if you try and push out your comfort zone and do it, you feel stupid, you feel intimidated. The gyms are always very, very busy, so you don't enjoy it. The next time you're thinking about going, you're thinking about how, oh, I don't want to go in there and do something that I don't know what I'm doing again. What if I injure myself? And even if you do go to a class, I remember when I worked in Pure Gym, I was taking classes of upwards of 60 people. That is not coaching. You're just all running about jumping. That's adult PE. You're just running about jumping around in a hall quite easily. I saw loads of people injure themselves and there was nothing I could do. It wasn't down to my coaching. I was just telling 60 people what to do. So no wonder so many people don't think the gym is for them. You see, what we realised this couple of years ago, we were doing a kind of maybe a slightly better version of that, but we were charging a little bit more. So we weren't delivering enough value to outpay the big box gyms, but we were just doing the same model. So we were just stuck in the middle ground that was serving no one and burning myself and the team out. So I knew something had to change. So what I did is we sat down and I asked myself, what do people really need from their fitness journey and why aren't they getting it right now? And the revelation that we made was, one, people need to be coached. So how can we get them coached every single day? So we came up with our semi-private and our large group coaching timetable, which has worked incredibly well. And then two, they needed a clear vision and a clear direction to work in. You don't need more information. There's enough of that out there in social media already. You need easy to implement action steps. So we created our Launchpad series and then our results roadmap. So each client knows exactly what they should be doing at all times. And then we thought, but most people have kids, they have businesses, they have families. How we know results come from consistency, so how can we help them be more consistent? And then we came up with pillars number 3 and 4, which is the support and the accountability. So each client now has a success coach who checks in regularly, gives them a wee kick up the bum, can answer any questions, does check-ins to answer any queries or struggles that they might be having. And then we've got the accountability aspects. We always say there's the 3 layers of accountability. There's your self-accountability, and that's doing what you said you'll do, which, as we've just established, is so difficult, especially when life gets hectic, when you get sick, when something happens with your kids, you get stuck in traffic, you have a shit day at work, and suddenly that goes out the window. So we'll get layer number 2, and that is your accountability to your success coach, and that is doing what they've asked you to do, which makes things a little bit more, a little bit better, a little bit easier to be consistent, because you don't want to let somebody else down. It's so easy to let yourself down, but not when somebody else is counting on you. So that adds that second layer. But then we've got layer number 3, and this ties in really well with pillar number 1, which is the timetable. Because you're constantly coming in and you're seeing the same people and you're training with the same people, you become friends. It's just what happens. You have your training partners, you have your friends in the gym. Not only does it make the gym a nicer environment to be in, it also means you don't want to let them down. So you've got layer number 3, which is your social accountability. So instead of just having yourself to depend on, you've got your coach to lean on, and then you've got the community around you to lean on. And what we've found is that makes people way more consistent. And when you're consistent and you're enjoying it, you're going to go and you're going to make progress. Okay, and then the last thing we thought, we were like, how can we really double down on that feeling of being part of something bigger? And that is the community aspect. And we've just spoken about the real positive benefits of having the community, but how do we drive that? Well, one, we drive it through the sessions by making them enjoyable, making you interact with other members, making you interact with the coaches, and making sure that you actually know what you're doing and feel comfortable in the gym. And then number 2, we run our social events, our community events. We run 2 every quarter, 1 social, 1 physical. And we just see this as a great way, not for just to build a deeper relationship with the coaches, but to build a deeper relationship with the people in the gym, the overarching community as a whole. And from what we've experienced, I mean, as we spoke about last week, our super teams was fully booked out. So many people came down, and we're just arranging our Christmas night out. The last 2 Christmas nights out, we've had about 90 people attend, and that's about 50% or just under 50% of our full membership. And for me, that is amazing. And I think it's absolutely incredible that so many people want to take time out of their day and go and spend it with the people in the gym. And if I feel like if more people had this training support, the training, and then the plan, and then the support and the accountability and the community aspect, getting to their goals, it would be so much easier than they ever thought possible. And they wouldn't just be left on their own stressing about what they're going to do. They wouldn't just be trying time and time again only to end up back at square one thinking that the gym's not for them. So that is why we believe the old fitness industry is broken, and more of the industry is going to be trending towards what we do. And I think it's only great, because the more positivity we have in the industry, the easier it's going to be for us, because we've gone through a cycle of very low faith and very low trust in the fitness industry. And we know we're good, we know what we do works, but so many people have been burned time and time and time again, that it's made our life a hell of a lot harder. Sorry, I'm just going on a weird sort of rant here. But yeah, I can't even remember why I started that. But that is why we've changed the business model to be where it is. And it's really bedding in. And I actually love where the business is going at the moment. And I know our clients are loving it as well. Okay. And wow, we're really digging into this 15 minutes. So we're going to keep the fat loss bit nice and quick. So what I would like to talk about is cheat meals and how they're absolutely nonsense. So what I talk about when I first started getting into training, when I was at Camp America, and there was a huge community of guys around us that were really big into training, because you were constantly walking about just swimming shorts, tops off. So you wanted to look good, you wanted to feel good. And it really leans into the community aspect, because that is where I first really experienced having that supportive group around you. But there was one thing that was part of this group, and that was that cheat meals were a thing. And I actually think it came from the UK Office episodes. I think that's kind of where it started, for this group anyway, not in general, for this group. And what we do, everyone would be very, very on it with their diet. For like, we only got a day off like every 2 weeks. For like 2 weeks, we'd be very much on your diet. You'd be training every day. You'd be getting loads of steps in. You'd be down at the pool. You'd be down in the lake. So you were very active. And then on that one day off, we would always have a big night out at the CC the night before, and you'd all be super hungover the next day. And then it would just be an all-out cheat days, we like to call it. We would go to Frankie and Benny's, that's not right, TGI Fridays in Binghamton, and we would just scoff our faces, eat and drink everything that we wanted. And then we would go to the Walmart and then go to the local AMC cinema, which was the first cinema I'd ever been in with recliner seats. And then we would have big, massive bags of M&Ms, like American-sized bags of M&Ms. You'd have big bags of Hershey's chocolates, huge, big Hershey's chocolate bars. And then we'd go back to TGI Fridays and just absolutely stuff our face, drink the evening away, and just take that as a cheat day where everything went out the window. And we just thought that was like acceptable, because you've been on your diet for 2 weeks. But it's just a very unhealthy way of looking at it. And you should never be rewarding yourself for doing something that should just be part of your life. So that's why we prefer to focus on the sustainable habits and be proactive about having nights out, about having dinners out. You plan ahead so you don't have to be reactive of it, and then you don't go into these massive binges. So all of it is about managing your expectations. If you know you're going to be out quite frequently, if you've got quite an active social calendar, you have to understand that your progress, yes, will probably be a bit slower than someone who doesn't. But once you've got that expectation set, then you don't have the guilt, you don't have the feelings that you're not doing enough, and you're able to plan ahead and be proactive so that you can accelerate that progress around it, which I'm not going to cover today. Today's more about the mindset of it, because that's what people need more than the actual tactics of how to do it. Okay, and that is what I want to talk about today. So hopefully that's been helpful to you. I feel like I've still been quite rambly on this second episode today, so I'm going to get into the third and fourth episodes now, and you'll be listening to this next week. Have a good one.